We are back for another chit chat, another book talk here at Geeks and Barbells. Thank you all for tuning in because I wanted to talk about something really near and dear to my heart. I posted a video, the last video I actually posted, which was about the role of novels, the role of science fiction and fantasy in the school setting, and why I feel that it is a much better medium for teaching people very important things about perspective, about ethics, about pretty much everything you can imagine. Today, I really wanted to talk more broadly about why, why our education system is failing us, quite frankly, and whether or not it pretty much kills creativity, and especially more importantly, to me at least, how it kills people's desire to read. And so, if we look at just broadly the education system, obviously there are very huge differences depending on obviously which country you're from, the area you're from, your level of wealth. All these things factor into what kind of school you were sent to, primary school, high school, university, whether even you had the opportunity to go to a college or a university. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But when we just look broadly from the Western sense, at the very least, a lot of education systems are pretty much focused on test taking. It's test taking and SATs and going to a fancy college. It's not even about going to a good college. Okay, there's just sort of an understanding that's kind of societally said that if you go to a place like Harvard or Yale, because it's famous, it's obviously a better college, which is not necessarily true. Just because you go to Harvard doesn't mean you're going to get a great education. Doesn't mean you're going to get a job. So there's that factor to bleed in. But when we're talking more specifically about creativity as a whole, the kind of school system that we've built, okay, this mentality, the way we build school starting from primary school, and especially let's kind of focus more on primary and high school because these are really where we're being shaped as young people. We destroy the desire to learn. We destroy the desire to be creative inside of school. Most primary schools and high schools, they function around, as I said before, a testing system, many times a multiple choice testing system. And this all stems back from the industrial era, when we were trying to produce more factory workers, basically. And so that's why we have bells. That's why we have very, very rigid compliance rules when we're in the classroom. That's why, let's face it, most classrooms are boring as hell. They're gray and just, they're dull. There's no liberation. There's no ability to work cohesively as a group. Many times it's just a solo thing. Do well, score well, and then it doesn't matter if you forget it. All that matters is that you pass the test, and then you can just ignore the rest of it. So that is an unfortunate aspect of school. So of course, when you think of it from a creative standpoint, most kids pretty much lose out on that creative aspect of their life by the time they reach high school. Because why even try to do new things? Why try to learn new things? Because school's not teaching you to learn new things. You don't actually learn how to learn. You don't learn why you should learn. You just basically are drilled to rote memorize, score high, and then move along and do the same thing again and again and again. And so that kills any desire to really, really explore out of bounds. And that's why you don't get that many creative people who really do well in most schools, because if you do anything different than what happens, what is expected within the school system, you will basically just fail. And if you fail, you are held back, you are looked at as stupid, you get lambasted by the teachers. Many people have parents who, even if they mean well, tend to shit on them if they don't get good marks and just treat them like trash. So that is very, very unfortunate. And it is extremely common. In fact, almost every person I meet, especially now the younger generation, I work alongside people from all ages, 16, 18, 20, 24, 25, 26. Nobody reads. Most people don't even know what a Kindle is, even ebooks. They do not read. They stop reading as soon as they leave high school. They are basically just forced to read their school books. and then they have no more desire, any interest whatsoever to read. Of course, the internet and just this immediate gratification culture we have just makes it much, much worse. But basically, reading is being burnt out of people, especially the younger generation. And this is such a sad fact. So what we need to do, what we need to push back against is we need to reform schools for the year 2020. We need to push against this killing of creativity. We need to push against this forcing people to memorize textbooks. Textbooks are the most boring, inane, pointless things that we are forced to learn in school. They should just be open booked. We should just be allowed to look at information because Google exists, and we don't need to memorize all these facts in the same way. You just need to inspire creativity, inspire people's urge to learn and consume more long form content, and actually just enjoy books overall. That's why I've pushed and why I will continue to push for people to get more into novels and fantasy and science fiction, because there's so much you can learn throughout really interesting stories that way. But this is really, really important. It doesn't make any sense that we are creating school systems which actually the primary response for most people to say after leaving school is, oh, because of school, I don't want to learn anything anymore, and I especially don't want to read a book. That means you're failing as an education system. I'm going to keep this video really short today, but I really just think if that's the goal, if that's what we're making kids feel, and even once they leave university, is just because of school they don't want to read, we've fucked up royally. We've royally fucked up. We need to reform our school systems, especially in Western culture. But I mean, I've heard even worse horror stories from Asian countries, Indian countries, where they have even more, unfortunately, larger populations. So more kids are just crammed into schools and just forced to conform, and only the basically top-notch, like 1% who can just drill in, manage to survive, and everybody else gets tossed to the side. So this is really unfortunate. So we really need to push back against this. I highly recommend people to check out Seth Godin's blog, check out his TED Talk of how we're destroying dreams. I'm going to post links down below on his TED Talk and this really long, sort of almost ebook length rant he does against the school system, which I feel everybody should read. It is extremely important. Check it out if you are a reader, if you believe reading is super important, if you believe creativity is what the future needs, then please check it out. Like, subscribe, share this video. Let me know what you think down below and any other resources you really like. I'm also going to post down below a video by a guy named Sir Ken Robinson who talked about how schools affect creativity. I had forgotten about it until this one moment. I think it's another important watch for a lot of people. Stay healthy, stay geeky, and stay happy.